Hello again, everyone. I'm Tom Dirato. Welcome to the Eddie Sutton Show. Well, we're off and running when it comes to Big 12 conference play. The 13th-ranked Oklahoma State Cowboys passed their first test as they outlasted Texas Tech in the league opener last weekend. As usual, we'll have all the highlights as OSU's big men came to the rescue. Construction on the new athletic center continues to move right along. On this week's Off the Court feature, we'll show you just how much has been done since groundbreaking ceremonies back in January. And one of the best six men in all of college basketball, senior Glendon Alexander, will join us in studio. We have all this and a lot more for you, so stay with us. We're back after this opening timeout.
The Eddie Sutton Show is brought to you by Jeep and your local.
Well, welcome back to the show. And Eddie, the Cowboys 1-0 in conference play. Didn't have to play all this week. How'd you feel about that layoff, as if you had anything to say about it?
Well, first of all, it's great to have the student body back, and our spring semester start on Monday. And I think any time that occurs and you can get your team back in a more structured atmosphere, you're better off. But we did have good practices this week in preparation for Baylor. Tried to outline to the team some of the shortcomings we had against Texas Tech, even though we won that ball game.
We're going to see the highlight package here in a second for Texas Tech, but before we go to that, obviously a low-scoring game. Defense has a lot to do with what is called an ugly game, but I'm telling you, there will be no ugly wins in the Big 12 Conference. Every time you win, that's the prettiest thing you can put on the picture.
Well, I agree with that. I think the Big 12 is probably the toughest that it has been since we joined forces, the Big 8, with the 4 schools in Texas. I think as a result, you're going to see very few blowouts. I think you're going to see a lot of competitive basketball. And as it is in most conferences, when league play begins, the intensity level rises, not only on the part of the players, but the fans as well. And the game with Texas Tech, our big guys really did a good job. They saved us because our perimeter players had a horrendous afternoon of shooting the basketball, 7 for 32. So when you look at Weber and Montonati and Jonzen, they did a nice job scoring. They had 35 out of our 55 points on an afternoon when, like I said, our perimeter players just didn't have their eye on the basket. There's Desmond Mason hitting his only tray of the ball game.
He has also grabbed 26 rebounds, those 3 guys. But isn't that a mark of a good ball club, a solid ball club, that you could pick up on one end when the other one's not getting it done?
There's a good play by Doug Gottlieb. He ran through a pass, and that's something we need to do more and more of. But I think what you said is true. Somebody's having a bad afternoon, a bad evening. Somebody else on that team's got to pick you up. And our guest today, he's picked this up a lot this year. I'm talking about Glendon Alexander. He was only 1 out of 4, so his shooting eye was off a little bit, although he didn't get very many shots.
Let me tell you, when that 1-3 did come up, he was able to knock it down late in the game along with Joe Adkins. Nice follow there by Fred.
Great follow-up on a putback. That's what we've got to get our offensive rebounders to do more of. I think that's one of the areas we've tried to concentrate on this week, both offensive rebounding and defensive rebound. There's Ellis. He took a hard spill and did come back in the second half and play, but wasn't at full speed. Probably one of the bright young stars in our league, just a sophomore, but has really done a great job for James Dickey this year.
He's been red hot coming into that game, averaged 23 points in the previous 3.
I think that Texas Tech, along with Colorado and Iowa State, probably are the 3 big surprise teams this year. I think they're all 3 of those teams are playing better than what everybody had projected they would do. And of course, when we played Texas Tech, nice entry pass, and Alex Weber really got out of his slump. I thought he really played well in this particular game, although earlier this week I heard he's back and hasn't practiced with us the entire week, so hopefully we can get him squared away again, because he really did play like he's capable of playing against the Red Raiders.
And very untimely, because he really got out of the gate sharp, and that was a great entry pass, as you said, by Joe.
There's another nice pass by Desmond into Alex, and he just seemed to be a lot quicker on his feet.
Active.
Very active, alert, and that's what he needs to do. Nice pass there. Fredrik knocks home an easy 2. You know, when we play Texas Tech, one of the reasons there are these games usually are defensive struggles is because James was my assistant coach for 8 years, and he's got a book on us, and we certainly have one on him. And as a result, you run an offensive play, and all of a sudden you see the opposition right there in your pass. So I think this is the way it'll always be. I don't like playing former assistants. I certainly don't like playing James because he's like family. but they are in our league, so we have to play them at least twice a year.
What'd you think? You go in there. I couldn't wonder what people around the conference might have thought when they saw that score maybe on the board, 22-18 at halftime.
Well, I'm sure they were surprised, although I think you're going to see all the scores in most conferences go down as you get into league play. But, you know, we've been averaging over 80 points a game, and I think they've been averaging about the same. But good defense, and then even when you had open shots, both teams, they weren't able to convert. So
well, good defense will make you a little antsy more times than not now. You can miss open shots, but sometimes you want to take that shot a little quicker. And this is one of the few times they got to the free throw line. That was one of your goals.
One of the keys when you play Texas Tech, as it is with a lot of teams, don't foul them and put them on the free throw line, because this team shoots 75%, and that's one way they really keep in the game. We did a great job on Young. He was 5 out of 14, and he's capable of going out and hitting you for 30 points. He's one of the outstanding guards we have in the Big 12.
Well, you keep him under wraps, and you got a chance of slowing him down a little bit because, as you said, he's had some games in his career where he's just been able to light it up. And there's that three we're talking about from Glendon. It came late in the game with 4 minutes left. That was a big one.
It was a big shot, and we saw Montonati just before that hit a basket. He has had 6 double-doubles this year. In this particular game, he led us in scoring with 14 and also pulled down 14 rebounds.
He's played well, no question about that. 6 double-doubles, half of the first games. He's been in the double-double category. But the fact is, Brian's in a position to do that game in and game out, so that really shouldn't be that big a deal, because if he's active, he's going to get a chance.
Well, he is active, and he's such an improved basketball player. You know, 2 years ago, I was telling Jason Keefe, because Jason gets a little discouraged by not playing any more than what he's playing, and he's just a sophomore. I said, when Brian was a sophomore, he played very little, and I said, your time will come, and you keep working, and you're going to help this ball club win this year, and then you got 2 years left. But Brian Montonati is one of the most improved players that I've ever seen from the time he arrived on our campus to where he is today.
Now, talk about probably coming out of this game, not only was the effort of the big men, and they certainly saved the Cowboys that particular day, but Desmond had a tough day. That's going to happen to everybody. How's Desmond handled that throughout the week?
Well, I think he's handled it well. You know, their defense did a good job on him, and he got a little frustrated. He's had games like that before, and he'll bounce back. And I reminded him, in fact, we gave him the film from last year when we went to Waco. He had 32 points in that game, and I said, just look at that film and see how you played, and let's do the same thing Saturday afternoon when we take on the Bears.
Yeah, we're hoping that Baylor will be the medicine for Desmond, because it was last year as well. We'll get to that later on in the show. If you haven't been to Stillwater in a while, chances are you won't believe what you see when driving into town. The new athletic center can be seen from miles away, and the closer you get to campus, the more impressive the structure becomes. But don't just take my word for it. Check it out on this week's Off the Court feature, and you be the judge.
Just don't enter the future, you create the future. And that's what this project is all about. We're here creating our future. Our future is not determined by anyone else, nor what anyone else may do, say, or think. Our future is determined by us and us alone.
There's some great film by people here at our studio, but you know, it's going to be a magnificent facility when it's completed. But it tests everyone's patience right now, and it may test our patience even next year, because if we get some inclement weather and they fall behind, and Manhattan Construction has done an outstanding job up to this point on keeping on schedule, then it's possible we may have to move some games in December into Oklahoma City or Tulsa.
Were they still putting a roof on Gallagher when you made your visit here the first time? That's what you told me. I don't know if that's just a rumor or not, was it?
Well, I came in right after it was built.
See, at least you admitted it. You know, we talked about Glendon Alexander. He's been instant offense off the bench for us this year. He's hit almost 52% of his trays in the last 8 games. We'll talk to Glendon when we return.
Joe goes to Fredrik. Fred into the corner to Alexander. Glendon from 3. Got it! Oh, baby. What a timely 3.
Well, timely, I'd say. We needed that 3. That was your only 3 of the afternoon, and no excuses, but you were having somewhat of a tooth problem that day, weren't you?
Yes, a little, 2 hours, I believe, before the game. I had to go to the dentist and try to numb up my back tooth, and it didn't work out that way, because halfway during the layup line it started hurting me again. So, but I can't make no excuses on that.
It didn't seem to make any difference on that shot. I know he was glad to see that one go down.
He hit that big shot, but he's hit some big shots for us this year. He, in my opinion, is the best 6th man in college basketball. There's no doubt that he could be starting, and when you look at the total minutes, well, he's playing as much as most of the starters, but he's really been an asset. You know, he didn't come to us right out of high school. Went to the University of Arkansas and did well over there, and then decided to, he saw the light one day, I think, and decided he better come over here and help us out. And he's been a real joy to coach. And if we're going to continue to do well in the conference this year, I think Glenn is going to play a major role.
You know, GA and I have talked about this a lot this year on the pregame shows, but this is true up and down the lineup, up and down the roster. Guys don't care whether they start, they don't care whether they finish. I mean, basically, just want to win, right?
Oh, basically, I know for our program, the teammates that I have and the personalities, the guys just want to go out there and win. And, you know, I have no problem being 6th man, 7th man, as long as we're putting the W's in the right column and we're making progress throughout the season to get better.
You know, he comes from an athletic family. His dad's a high school basketball coach, but tell everybody about your sister.
Well, my sister, Casey, she's 18 years old. She goes to the University SMU, and she's 6'4", and she plays the 2 and the 3, and she's also the 6th man on the ladies squad down there, and they're kind of on a winning streak. And you know, my little sisters, I think they're the best athletes in our family. I think my little sister, Gabrielle, she's going to be the best athlete out of all of us, because right now she's only 12 and she takes things so seriously when it comes to basketball. And Casey, she's the model of the family. She just plays basketball to get through school. So I think Gabrielle's the best out of all.
Who's got the best shot from out there in 3-point range, Casey or yourself?
I think, well, I have the best shot, but I think my older sister, Stacy, still has the best shot in the family.
She's averaging 14 points for the lady SMU basketball team.
Athletic.
You know, we've had a lot of our guys on, but I believe that he wins the award for the GQ award.
Look at this.
I tell you, that's a handsome outfit.
Well, we were talking
thank you.
before he came on the day before, and I said, there's no way you're going to out-GQ me, but I think you got the award this time. If we took a poll, though, it'd be close. You know, we play at Baylor Saturday. Anytime you can play in the state of Texas, now that gets the old motor running, doesn't it?
Oh, yes. This weekend, I'm going to have a lot of family and friends come to the game. And Waco is just only 45 to an hour away from Carrollton. And, you know, it's my last trip around. And I was going to go out there and try to have fun. And I know it's going to be fun for Desmond as well. And, you know, try to put on some type of a show and get the W.
I'm going to let him talk to you about this, but I know the points are great, but he likes the better defensive player that we're seeing here this year.
That is one area that he has really improved in. He's always been a great scorer in high school and college, but he always thought that you only played one end of the floor for a while. So we finally convinced him, you know, basketball is a game you play the whole end of the floor. and he's become really a good defender through a lot of hard work.
We appreciate you coming down, as always, to visit with us.
Thank you.
And yeah, you lived up to what you said you're going to do. You do look good in that
Thank
suit
you.
right there. We're going to be back to wrap it all up after this timeout.
This week's question from oakstate.com is brought to you by Southwestern Bell. If you have a question for Coach Eddie Sutton, log on to OSU's official athletic website at www.oakstate.com to participate in the Southwestern Bell Ask Coach Sutton contest.
That is an interesting question right there. How early in their careers do you start tracking them?
Well, you'd be amazed that people write us and give us names of youngsters that are in early years of junior high. And, of course, we have our basketball camps every summer, and a lot of times youngsters at that age come in, and we really keep our eye on people when they get in the 8th and 9th grade. So if anyone that's an OSU alum hears of anybody, we're welcome to check them out. But a good question by Jeff.
Here we come now with the bouncing ball and our notebook. Let's see if we can keep it from knocking everything over here. Well, there goes your desk again. It's one of these days. See how it just kind of puts it back in order, though? It's the magic of television. First item up, transfer talk, and no, we're not losing anybody. Bring us up to date on Broxy and Victor Williams.
Well, Antoine Broxy had knee surgery, and from what the trainers and doctors tell me, it was very successful. He is rehabilitating it. He won't be playing this year, but hopefully getting ready for next season. Victor Williams is practicing every day and learning a lot about what we want him to do next year. We're losing all of our perimeter players, and as I've told him, you need to really get ready to be a player for us in that starting lineup.
Well, college basketball aficionados probably have noticed this more so than the casual fan, but it's pretty crowded down there on the block during free throws these days.
Well, there's a new rule where the inside position on both sides, which is taken by the defensive team, the team not shooting, can move all the way up about 6 inches further than they normally have been able to do in the past.
And that creates just a little bit more of a traffic jam and enables guys like Desmond to take it with one hand and slam it back down like he did a couple of games ago. Third item that we've got up here on guard, and that probably says it all. To win in this day and age, you got to have good guards.
I think at any level, the guard play is the most important. You can have a big guy, and if you do have a big guy, the guards will get him the basketball. If you don't, well, they can still control tempo. I think all the great teams I've ever had, I've always had great backcourt play, and that's one of the things that allows us to have a chance to do well this year.
Before we talk about Baylor quickly, I'm glad that, you finally decided to wear a coat and tie last couple of weeks. Yeah, we had to take you off the practice court. Where'd you get that tie?
Well, I get most of my clothes from John's up in Pumpkin City, but this came to me through the White House. The president gave that to me. He's big on saxophone, so he sent that to me.
Well, you see, not everybody can have a president send him a tie like you.
I told him one time, I'm more famous than you at one time because he was teaching law school when I went to Arkansas. That's not true now.
Well, you could get him about that all the time. All right, down at Baylor, we see Dave Bliss for the first time. He's taking over that Baylor program.
Great respect for Coach Bliss. He's got a ball club that's won more games this year than they did all last season. Be a tough game for us.
They had to open on the road 2 games, and it's a situation where they're coming home for the first time to play in the Big 12 Conference. They'll be ready to go.
They will be ready to go. We're fully expecting a very intense ball club Saturday afternoon.
Well, that's all the time we have for this week's show. For Eddie Sutton, our entire crew here at Educational Television Services, Tom Dirato. Goodbye, everybody.
The Eddie Sutton Show has been brought